So, The Acolyte Episode 7 looms for Disney+. This is something that will debut, by the way, on July 16th, next week, that's going to finally conclude and end the series once and for all. Now, we know that those out there, like Leslie Headland, Kathleen Kennedy, etc., have been in full-on damage control mode and double down mode when it comes to their overall view of Star Wars. In particular, we have someone like Leslie Headland who cannot accept the ratings across many different forms of social media and different sites like Rotten Tomatoes, for example, IMDb, you name it. And we have a lot of things to go over when it comes to Headland, who, by the way, just cannot accept what's going on in reality. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, The Acolyte Episode 7 was a major disaster. I pointed this out just a couple of days ago for several reasons, and one of the biggest ones of all is the fact that, yes, it is essentially something that was a repeat of the third one, and is just very predictable, but I digress. Focusing here on Leslie Headland, alright? She is completely in damage control mode, and really is going against the fans at all costs. She wants to protect her show, her vision, like no tomorrow, and it's not a big shocker after all. I mean, this is coming from Leslie Headland, Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant. Based on what we saw in Episode 7 and that creepy scene between Kymere and Osha, and how at the same exact time she says that Star Wars is meant for younger audiences, is just flat out bizarre. But let's head into this, alright? Now, specifically, on top of everything here, with The Acolyte episode set to air on July 16th, Episode 8, and serving as the finale, one major development now has more to do with director and showrunner Leslie Headland, where she recently delivered the following after The Acolyte Episode 7 ratings made the backlash even worse. Headland stated the following: "I just think it's absurd and quite frankly frustrating seeing how many fans are reacting the way that they are to the 7th one and how it completes the story of Osha and May's past wonderfully. Looking at the critics and examining the fan reception, it's quite an insult to myself as a creator and as a director, the way fans are expressing their opinions over The Acolyte. Look, I know this industry can be very unfair, but this is on a whole different level where you are dealing with people that are posing to be fans, to force their narrative into actual fans' minds, and that, of course, are open to change and evolution in Star Wars. I just don't believe the ratings and the viewership reports for our series is something you really can take seriously anymore, because it's all driven by an agenda and a one-sided narrative by those that remain opposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. More often than not, I see these so-called fans labeling Lucasfilm as the one pushing an agenda, and that is just complete nonsense. If you are against diversity, then you might as well not watch Star Wars at all, because this is a universe that features all different kinds of species. Yes, I have seen the Rotten Tomatoes score for The Acolyte and among other sites that hold similar reportings. You just can't take those as authentic at all. I don't care what anyone says, but The Acolyte, without a doubt, also has a silent majority of fans that are afraid to speak their mind about just how much they love the show, and I have had conversations with some fans that felt that way. So you have these fans that just don't want to expose themselves as supporters in fear of getting labeled as this or that. I came into this thing knowing that Amandla was the one actress that could fulfill characters like Osha and May. It's why we really felt the characters should be catered to her, and her only. The ratings, as far as I see it, are coming from a terrible place in this fandom that have no idea what they are talking about when it involves Star Wars. You really have to hold more knowledge than anyone, even more than George Lucas, because I know for a fact that he did not read all the Expanded Universe books like I did, but you have to be like that to really understand every single angle of the brand, and I did that with The Acolyte. We really did not break canon, we hold no agenda over this show, and most of all, I don't buy the ratings one bit for what they are being presented as on social media. Now guys, let me just say one thing about Leslie Headland before I move on to what she continues to spew about this. This is maximum cope at this point. She is coping very hard over the backlash, over the type of reception that Lucasfilm is receiving, over the Acolyte series. We have never seen anything like this in Star Wars history. I don't even think that we've ever seen anything like this in television history, especially when it comes to pop culture, right? So that really just labels this show as something so severe when it comes to the backlash. This is why I said a year and a half ago that this was going to basically be The Last Jedi 2.0, if not worse. And it ended up being worse. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but this is making The Last Jedi look a lot better than what it really is. And that's when you know the Acolyte really did something very wrong, especially based on what Leslie Headland said, Kathleen Kennedy said, and even what Amandla Stenberg, you know, threw out there over the Acolyte series. So look, at the same exact time, we know that Kathleen Kennedy and the rest of the Lucasfilm story group, they are in complete panic. We'll talk more about that, but Lucasfilm right now is in shambles. They don't know what to do with the Rey Star Wars film, they don't know what to do with other Star Wars projects, and among others, especially with the combination of the Acolyte backlash and Bob Iger's cost containment plan wreaking havoc, by the way, at Lucasfilm. There's a lot of budgeting cuts happening over there, and it's really kind of narrowing what they're able to do with those projects. Moving on, she goes on to conclude, I think many times the toxic part of the fandom that consists mostly of males that are against powerful women are the ones that use scores on sites like Rotten Tomatoes to fulfill their narrative, and it gets very tiring and exhausting to explain to those types what your vision is really all about. Now look guys, obviously Leslie Headland is just going on a rant here. She is very much upset about the Acolyte series failing so hard beyond recognition. We know that there's a lot of things wrong with the Acolyte show. It is not only a canon-breaking disaster, but it is something that holds terrible writing, directing, execution. Like I said earlier in the day, the sets look very cheaply made. There is no way in hell that the Acolyte is worth $180 million. And yes, that is the budget, and it's actually more than that if you want to throw marketing expenses in there. It's more close to $200 million. We'll go over the actual statistics later on, but $22.45 million, give or take, per episode, right around that range, is the average, and that is insane. Look at episode 3 and episode 7. Do you think it's worth $22.5 million? I don't think so. You know, those sets look very cheaply made at many different points in time, different shots here and there, and some of the makeup and the costume design for different characters out there also look very cheap. But what's interesting about this, again, is that Leslie Headland is just coping here. I don't believe that she believes what she's even saying. I think that she knows exactly what's going on, that the reviews are indeed authentic, that the reviews are indeed coming from the majority of fans. She just doesn't want to admit it. She does not want to admit failure. She is essentially Rian Johnson 2.0. Alright? So overall, guys, you know, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.